Hello and welcome to Pratik Chess Videos.
Hello friends, today we are going to see the game between Karjakin and Anand in the year 2006. Okay, this game is a very wonderful game in Anand's career because this game was such a brilliant game in the Sicilian. Okay, let's start the game. Karjakin was black, Anand was Karjakin was white, Anand was black. Let's start the game. The game started e4 and now c5. The Sicilian defense, very energetic and attacking opening. Knight to f3. Knight to c6 is the own Sicilian, but in the game d6 was played. It's the open Sicilian, and now d4, c into d4, knight into d4, knight f6, attacking the pawn on e4, knight c3. Alright, so now we reach the main position of the open Sicilian. Now we have many options here. So here, why do we have options? Because now there is a lot to decide. Which variation will you play? It's a very confusing task on which variation we should play here, because there are four variations, four main variations. Now the first one is to play a6, the Nasdorf variation, the most popular variation of the Sicilian defense and also the most played, which was played in this game. Second is the dragon variation. This variation is one of the most complex openings in all of chess, or even the most complex. The position reaching here are razor sharp, and people don't even survive until move 30. It's such a razor sharp position. Then we have the Skenevingen, right? That spelling. Skeveningen. This variation, they mostly transpose into the Nasdorf or into the they mostly transpose into the Nasdorf or into the classical. The classical variation is knight c6, which is the second most played variation with 14 uh, with 21,000 games, and this variation opts for a more let's say more uh, closed and quiet style. But in the game was played a6, one of the most complex variations in all of chess and the so-called Rolls Royce of chess, the Nasdorf. Now comes bishop e3, the English attack. There's also this bishop g5 move leading to the classical main line after e6, f4, queen b6, and queen b6 reaches the poison pawn variation, bishop e7, queen f3, and then queen c7 is the traditional line here. If you play here h6, then if you play here h6, then it is after bishop h4. There's a g5 goat above variation, seasonal one, or here short queen c7 brown variation, knight bd7. There are many options actually, so that's why here. But bishop e3 is getting more and more popular every day, and now it is the most popular variation of the Nasdorf. Bishop e3, English attack. It was popularized by the English GMs in the 1980s, and since then it has been very popular in the Nasdorf to play this. Now e5, attacking the knight b3. Now it may seem like we pushed our pawn without any counter play, and this d6 pawn is weak, but what we accomplish is that most of the times in the Nasdorf or in the Sicilian, we never get the e6 square. It is always controlled by black white's knight. But now we play bishop e6, and now we got the e6 square, which is good for our bishop. And then we have more space. We have more space than the usual Sicilian, and now we can use it to organize an attack, because this English attack is all about queen. It's about opposite side castling, and then who attacks first. Very double-edged openings here. So f3 was played. Well, f3, idea of f3 is to play g4 and also prevent any knight g4 attacks, and queen d2 long castle. That's the idea. So bishop e7 and now queen d2. Planning long castle and now short castle and then long castle. Now the attack starts. The first knight bd7, bringing a knight into the game, and now starts the attacks. The opening is over. It's time for the attack time. So g4 main move. Now g5 is the threat, and now white is advancing his pawn very quickly, and now b5 black also doesn't take any counter chances, because now he is coming b4, and now actually here there's no time in this opening to play h4, h5, g5, g6. See, if you play h4, it would be a mistake which was played by Caruana in 2016 as white, and he lost because after h4 knight b6, and now you are too late. You lost an important tempo. h4 idea is to play g5 h5, but now after like something like queen c7 threatening the move b4 rook fc8, h4 h5 isn't the thing you want to play. You want to play g5, and now after g5 attacking the f6 knight. Now b4 was played, counter attacking the c3 knight. So if you take on f6, I'm gonna take on c3, and your queen is under attack, so you can't take on e7, as c into d2 is check. So here queen into c3, knight into f6, and this is also a popular setup. And now in this variation, mostly draw happens. This is very quiet because now all attacks have stopped, and now this will progress to be a quiet game. So here, uh, to keep the spirit, you need to play knight to e2, which is the main move. Knight to e2, threatening to pick up the b4 pawn and also the knight. Now knight e8, you need to go back. If you play knight h5, then problem is that knight g3 will be there attacking the knight. So knight into g3, h into g3, you don't want to play this because this whole file is open. That would be a huge mistake, practically, because you don't want to play with the file open for the king. Yeah, it seems a5, a queen has to, you are good that there's h6, gh6, g6. So that is equal position, but knight h5 is still bad. It shouldn't be played. So that's why here after knight e2 comes knight e8, and now after knight e2 knight e8 comes f4, breaking on breaking the center, and now f5, uh, and we trap the bishop almost, because bishop c4 is still, but f5 f6 is also a threat. So here the threat is here to play f5, and if you play bishop b3 or move bishop c4, my threat is to play f6 or g6. G6 is even stronger. So that's why after f4 a5 black also continuously attacks, and now a4 is black's threat. If you even give black one move, black would be totally winning. That's why there are so many chances to mess up in this opening. It's completely theoretical and also double-edged. So that's the thing why this opening is so double-edged. Now f5 attacking the bishop. Now no time for bishop into b3 as there's c into b3. And now after a4, there's what was played in Peter's game. Takes and now a typical move king b1. And now here there's a very good tactic. If you have noticed it, pause the video and think. Okay, if you see that there is this queen a8 move attacking on e4 with fox, the pieces are also attacking on a2. Well, you are right, but if you said that move, you are wrong because we need to do it with the reverse move order. So we take, play queen a8 check. Now king b1 is met by queen into e4. That's why king b3 is also not good. So king into a2. See, rook into a2, you don't want to take. You just play knight c1 and continue this double-edged fight. But if you take on a2, then check. And now king b1, queen into e4 is going to be played. If king b1, king b3, then bishop into g5. Bishop into g5 is met by knight c5 check. That was a deflection. That's why queen to d5, queen to d5. If you take on e3, your queen is hanging, so that's why takes bishop into e3. And now attention, white is a piece down but exchange up as we sacrificed it on a2. So that would be a double-edged position, but black is better because black has two pawns, so slightly better. But here we can classify it as equal. And now let's move ahead to what happened in the game. Okay, in the game, after b into a4, after bishop into b3, here we were a5, f5, now a4. Black counter attacks again, attacking the b3 here. So now you should here if you play see. Now there's a really good tactic. If you have seen it already, then good luck. It's then good because it's knight b d4, good move, a cunning tactic. It exploits that the bishop is just trapped, and now uh, we will trap the bishop using all our we trap the bishop, okay, but we trap it in the most favorable way possible. So knight b d4 is played. And now after knight b d4, first we need to see that f into e6, why we don't play f into e6. Okay, f into e6 is also playable, but here a into b3, e into f7 check, rook into f7. And now comes this awesome move. You should pause the video and think. King to b1, just neglecting the thing that the a2 pawn is under attack, because if you take with the pawn, then king e1 and my king is safe because your pawn is here. So that's why here after takes and then king b1, here b into c2 check, queen into c2, bishop into g5, and double-edged fight is going on. It's still in the theory. Duda played this against Wasta Sheikh in the year 2017. Okay, so now we should go to the main line again. So now knight b d4, e into d4, b3 is the best according to the engine, which is played 60 by Nakamura, by Nepomniachtchi against Nakamura. Because after b3, now if you play king to b1, then first t into d4, knight into d4, b into c2 check, knight into c2, and then we just transpose. Okay, so e into d4. If you play e into d4, which was played, knight into d4, and this bishop is trapped because if you play bishop into a2, then there's coming knight c6. Hope you saw that coming. And now here these both are under attack and this position is good for white but still complex. So here we take and this position is classified as better, but it's still complex. Here we take and now we can say it as better. So that's how it is. So we can't take on a2, we have to play b3. And now if you are left wondering why don't we play knight c6, then see the breathtaking queen sacrifice b into a2. Okay. Okay, so knight c6 we use the same pattern, but now b into a2 is coming. Brilliant move. We sacrifice our queen for a new queen. So that's why this is not the position you would want normally. So knight into d4 here in the game was played b3, which is still the main line. It's still the theory going on as there are like 1360 games here, 1360 in the latest database. So now b3, now king b1, a familiar idea. Good move. This is a really hard to find idea if you are not prepared, but these both players were already prepared here because they are super GMs and this position happened very much like 2005 Leko versus Valerio Pawns. It also happened earlier, but it grew in popularity after this brilliant game. Okay, so king b1. Now here this is a position to choose here. Take on a2 or c2. Well, obviously c2 because if you take on a2, now if you take on a2 just king a1, and now it's better for white because you just give me a pawn on a2 which will shield my king forever and I can attack you. So that's why after king b1, b into c2 check was played, knight into c2, and now pause the video and think what should you play. Okay, first things first, if you take queen into c2, that's not going to work because of the same move. If you take king into c2, that's not going to work obviously because of bishop into a2. Knight c6 is met by queen c7. So that's why here now in the game b into c2, knight into c2 was played, bishop to b3. Good move. Our idea is to like just give the bishop but in style. In style and in the best way possible. We give you our bishop, but we give you our bishop in the best way possible. If you want to take my bishop like a into b3 takes, now you have to give me a file. And a file, open a file awaits black here because black just opened their file and this b3 pawn is also poisonous. So now actually after queen into c2 also the same bishop b3 move allows black to be better. A into b3, a into b3. Actually bishop b3, a into b3, a into b3. Queen into b3 comes knight c5 and knight c5, bishop into g5. And this position is around equal. So that's why here knight into c2, bishop b3, a into b3, a into b3. This bishop b3 tactic works. Now knight a3 and now knight to e5. This is still theory 1, 2, 8, 9 games played here. There also games alongside this Karjakin versus Anand. There's Leko versus Vallejo Pawns, Swiddler, two games against Lokwan Valley, and also Shirov, two games against Shirov game. Here he played this. Van Valley played this line very. Van Valley played this line very extensively during his career. So after knight a3, knight e5 came the move h4. Now we'll speed up a bit. h4. Another option is to play queen g2, which is played 332 times. Idea is to support the move f6. So now h4 was played, then rook to a4. Here, uh, actually, rook a4 is the main move here, attacking the e4 pawn. But in the game was played rook to a5, and rook a4 isn't the purpose of attacking the pawn. It's a better one. It's to play queen to a8 and then sacrifice on a3. Open this line somehow. That's our purpose. So rook to a5 was played in the game. Also wanting that same one, but rook a4, the theory here continues. After rook a4, there are three major options here. Bishop d4 is the main one, reaching this position. Then queen a8 and knight f3 are two options. Queen a8 main, and now queen e3. Now king h8 is the main one, and rook b4 another, and bishop d8. So king h8, bishop b5, rook a5, and here it ends. Okay. Here after rook to a5, it and 25 moves are over. You can say that this is our peak middle game stage now, and this is very unbalanced position, and anything can happen. So that's a three result game, but in the game was played rook a5, and now actually you see, now all the games have went this way, and actually in there are two options. Queen b4 is the main one. Here the queen a8, bishop b6, rook to a4, queen into b3 all forced, queen into e4 check. Now knight c2 has to be played. Now rook a8 back, and we reach again an imbalanced position. But in the game here was played queen to c3, not such a great move. At least, yeah, not such a great move. It was a mistake, and now Anand punished it using queen a8. Now the idea of queen a8 came, also threatening queen into a4, and then here. So bishop to g2, attacking, defending e4, also connecting the rook. c4 is an important spot. And now you should pause the video and think what should we play. Okay, now was played the amazing move knight to c7. Amazing. Okay, why this move? There are two reasons for this move. Okay, why this knight c7? So first of all, there are two reasons, and there's the whole point is to just control this file, and actually we get that by the engine. The threat here is the threat of knight to b5. Well, knight to b5, here we just need to remove this knight somewhat. And actually, the problem of this position for white is that there's this second threat. If you just take this knight so that you eliminate the threat, Now comes rook to c8, controlling this getaway square for the white king. Okay, so that's why here knight to c7, queen into c7, and now was played rook to c8. Good and logical move, sacrificing a piece. And now comes this move, rook into a3. Brilliant, sacrificing an exchange. And now actually it the white attack here seems so scary, but really there's nothing for white. Yeah. So queen into e7. Now what? Now actually, wait, there's a downside here. Now rook into a3. Okay, it seems all obvious. But rook into a3 is the point. Here comes b into a3. And now after knight to c4, queen a7 comes, and all of a sudden this position is completely this position is lost for black. Okay, so that's why rook into a3 is not a brilliant move but a blunder, and knight c4 was played in the game. Now g6 attack here, queen into f7 check, and g into f7 check is the threat. But Anand doesn't fear and takes on a3. And actually we need to avoid this move. Good move. Yeah. So g6 and then takes and now takes on a3, b into a3, and now rook into a3. Just not worrying, another good move, because he's just not worrying about anything, because all of the play on the king side is just a joke, because now g into f7 check. If queen into f7 check, then the king h8. No more checks. No, nothing over. If you play a bishop h6 here, trying to take on here g7, and if you take g into h6, then queen h7 mate. That doesn't work because rook a1 check, king b2, and now queen a3 is mate. This rook c8 move, this knight c7 and rook c8 move was just like too good. So here takes king h7, and now f8 is equal to knight check, trying to deflect and the white black rook. Black has to take on f8, and now with no other option left, white has to play queen into f8. Such a high risk here. But problem is that Anand isn't taking that. He plays rook a1 check. If you take on f8, that's a very bad decision here, because if you take on here, then it's a bad decision. I mean, we are still winning, but it's better to just finish it off, right? Mate him. So rook a1 check, king b2, and now rook a2 check, king to c3, queen a5 check, king to d3. Now queen b5 check, king to c3, and then actually here king d4 was played. If king c3, there's this move rook c2 check, king d4, queen c5 mate. That's why king d4, rook a4 check, king c3, queen c4. And now it's bad, because now after queen c4 check, it just lost 0-1. Okay, so 0-1, and now we lose, because now you cannot do anything here. Then just wait and watch. You can play king b2, and actually it's just a mate in one. You don't even have time to wait and watch. So king d2, rook a2 check, king e1, queen e2 is mate, and here king b2, queen c2 is mate. So here king e1 here. So that's why here after king c3, queen c4 check. White resigned. An amazing game. Okay, let's get to the important takeaways. Okay, takeaway. There's actually not a decisive takeaway, but I want to show you this idea that this move doesn't matter. The idea matters. Even here, knight f6 is working. Am I right? Yes, knight f6 is working, but not as good as knight c7 would do. But knight f6 is still better for black. G into f6, bishop into f6 is still slightly better for black. But knight c7 is a move of two threats. Now knight b5 is also coming, plus rook c8 is also coming. That's why here it is lost. So this was the game. Okay, I hope you like this video and don't forget to click the subscribe button and the bell icon. Thank you.